Hi, everybody. I'm Katy Byrne, psychotherapist from Sonoma, and I've written a book called The Courage to Speak Up, and the subtitle is Getting Your Hairballs Out. Yeah. So, how many people here know what a hairball is? Okay. How many people here have cats? All right. So what's the difference between people and cats?
Cats get hairballs.
Cats get hairballs and they get them out, right? And then they feel relieved. What do people do with hairballs?
Swallow them.
Swallow them?
Choke on them.
Choke on them.
Spit them at people.
Spit them at people. This is a good audience.
Try to ignore them.
Try to ignore them. Oh boy, yes.
Yeah. Hide them in their room.
Hide them in their room. How about bad backs? Migraines? How about eating? What else do we do with hairballs, humans?
Drinking.
Smoking.
Self-medication of other varieties.
Self-medication of all kinds of varieties. Television, sleeping. This one could go on for quite a while, though we're limited in time. So the title of the book, The Courage to Speak Up, kind of started for me I was always studying conversation and the power, and it is my conviction that conversation can change the world. But as I studied this and wondered, why am I so really obsessed with the idea, one of the things that started for me in the beginning was I was a compulsive overeater, and so as I experimented with speaking up and saying what was on my mind, and even talking to myself, I lost 100 pounds. I just kept lightening up. So I know, and that was after 5 years of diets and recovery work and therapy. But this was what ultimately worked for me. And I was so shocked at how these little things every day I was holding down. And I also had to do some self-talk, of course, at midnight in front of the refrigerator, because there's also the importance of speaking up, getting to know oneself. So, does anybody in here have a hairball this morning? Okay. All right. Anybody want to say a little bit about that, or just say the topic? I mean, it could be money, it could be the elections, it could be road rage, being in the car.
Just it's cold.
It's
cold.
Okay,
I hate the
you're
cold.
freezing, so you got to shake. Anybody else?
I'm struggling with some issues with someone that I live with.
Okay,
Yeah.
Someone you live with. Have any of us ever had a problem with someone we live with? Okay, it's called relationships, right? So is there any, do we wonder why thank you for saying that. Is there any wonder that the world doesn't work very well? Because the soil from which everything stems, the roots of a grassroots movement, are relationships, right? If we don't have that connection, we don't have the ground from which to grow and sprout and work together. Basically, we're disconnected if we don't have connection, if we don't have communication. So there's a kind of a fire under me about this conversation subject, because I really think that it's so imperative. And it's like, we all know this. I mean, most of us are pretty conscious here. We know we have to communicate. But how many of us really freeze up? I mean, it's really scary, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's the fear? What are some of the fears?
Not being understood.
Not being understood? Big one.
To do more harm by speaking up than actually helping.
Because
I don't do it the right way.
Yes, to do more harm because we're afraid we don't know the right way. Excellent. Right on.
Fear of being ostracized.
Fear of being ostracized and shamed or shunned.
A sneaky one I discovered recently that's related to that is the fear of once you express something to someone and they don't get it, losing
Yes.
their friendship because you realize they're not
Yes.
who you want to be with.
Yes. So talking to somebody and have them not get it, and for me I call that rolling of the eyes. There she goes again. High maintenance, never satisfied, not being heard, and then losing a friendship. Has anybody ever lost a friendship here? And how shocking that can be after years. And then there's no conversation.
As a kid, I stuttered for 10 years.
Oh.
Imagine in school opening my mouth, nothing is coming out, and the kids teasing me. So speaking up
Yes.
has been a big challenge.
Yes, so being teased as a kid because you stuttered, and how many of us were shy, and there are so many messages too big for your britches. Who do you think you are? These things start real early. And then, of course, as we grow up, there are things like why bother, pick your battles, So this will keep coming up as a theme today, and I appreciate your courage because it takes courage to move through these blocks. There's a lot to say about this, and a lot of it we know already. The men come from a long history of John Wayne, and the women come from Women's Lib. So, there's a lot written about men shutting down, and a lot about, not to be prejudicial either way, but in general, women speaking up. And I have a lot of things to say about that, but I think I'm going to just jump over some things and talk about the main thing that I think helps conversation and speaking up is it sounds simple, but if you see the soil in this environment and the beauty of these redwoods could not sustain themselves or thrive if they didn't have good soil. And the good soil is where we have to start from. Its basics, and that is valuing cooperation. Not something we don't know about, but very difficult to do. Why is it difficult? Judgments, gossip, anger. It's not as easy. It's easier said than done. So the whole idea, though, of speaking up, it's in our bodies, right? All the stuff that we hold in every day, that we feel we go to bed with sometimes at night, like not talking to the boss because you don't want to lose your job, not speaking to your husband because you might lose the relationship. Those kind of things stay with us. Even something small. One of the things I find so violent is shunning. This thing that happens in community where you just don't really know why, but there's tension. And nobody talks about it, but suddenly you walk into a gathering and that person kind of turns from you. And that's the shunning that can happen. There are all these subtle things that can cause us to separate, and then we aren't strong. We are disempowered as a people because we don't have we, the people. We're fragmented, we're like hairballs bouncing around everywhere instead of, really connecting and building bridges. And I know that's what community is trying to do. That's what we're all trying to do. But these fears and the shame and this frozen feeling stops us. Just quick example, I was with a girlfriend the other night, and we were having an hour. We were just wonderful dinner and hanging out. And all of a sudden I thought, oh my God, I'm writing about the courage to speak up, and I'm going to be speaking about it, and I better speak up about our friendship. And it was just this moment of, oh God, no, don't make me do it. I really don't want to do it. Because inside me, what I was saying is, it's a pleasant evening. Let it go. It's not a big deal. It's a small issue, right? Well, because I was going to be talking today about this, I thought I better try living it. So I took a deep breath, and I said, we haven't been talking much lately. froze. And of course I thought, I did this inside me. And she looked at me like doe in the headlights, like we were just enjoying spaghetti. Can we just... So anyway, the upshot of it was very moving. We ended up 2 hours later, she disclosed that a best friend had dropped her after 30 years, and that every time she tried to connect with her, a friend said, oh, no big deal, nothing really, just got busy. 3 years later. And she felt really sad about that. And I discovered that I had cut her out because I had judgments. My judgment was that we had nothing in common. And as we tried to weave through this, I discovered, oh, my mom felt that way about everybody. She felt nobody had anything in common with her. And then I realized, well, you know what? We could still be friends, but it was on the table. I was so afraid to say we have nothing in common. I thought, oh, that's going to really hurt her feelings. But she was like, you know, it's true, but I kind of enjoy you, you know. So anyway, it's really interesting stuff. So what stops us? Anything else?
Yeah, as you share that, you say 2 hours later. And for me, I have a busy life.
Yeah.
And the thought of opening up a conversation with someone and spending more than just a few minutes, I'm like, I don't really want to do it.
That's a very good point. That it takes time, and nobody has any time anymore. I don't.
It reminds me of something I heard lately about how conflict brings you closer and can really make you go deeper.
Yes, exactly. It can make you go deeper if you can hang in there, but we're all so busy. Who wants to bother?
I want to add to that that the fear that the person that I'm in conflict with now, I think enjoys having conflict and creating conflict, and so I'm hesitant to put my time and energy into that because I think that will just lead to another conflict.
Yeah, thank you. It's great stuff. That's a typical feeling. All these things, we all know these feelings. There's the person that we know loves conflict, and some people actually thrive on anger because it makes them feel more alive, perhaps, etc. So we don't want to venture into that because that means more hours of time, and etc. And one of the things that I discovered in going deeper and deeper into this subject with myself, because I thought, how am I going to help anybody with speaking up if I'm myself stuck somehow about this? And what I found was it's my responsibility to change the world, and it's my responsibility 1 hour at a time. So if I have a conflict or a kind of a tension between us, it's not you that's the problem. I know we know this theoretically, but it's really my job to clear this up. So that might mean that I would have to approach a person who is loving conflict and who could talk for hours and say my truth, which might be, I don't want to do this for hours, but I'd like to have this cleared up. And then that becomes my job, and it's not easy. Any other questions at this point?
Real dance.
It's a really excellent point that we fear, and it can happen, that if we approach a difficult conversation, we threaten the marriage, the community, the club we belong to, that we become ostracized, but the fear is more separation instead of more connection, more cohesion. It's one of the things, there's so much to say on this, but one of the things that I would throw in at this point is, I know we've all taken communications courses and we've learned these different things, but I came up with a method for communication that's really simple and really brief, and I believe it helps with that division, the division that we don't want, because we know we have to connect. We now more than ever before. The economy's falling apart, the earth is upside down, and really we don't need to name the problems. We have healthcare stress, housing expense. We have got to connect now. We know more than ever before. So one of the things that I teach really quickly is when I'm scared and there's a difficult conversation, I always tend to just shut down a little bit or freeze up. And I remember this thing, and I use the face. How it works is the two eyes and the mouth. They're the one eye, so when I'm afraid to say something to you, I will remember eyes and mouth, and I will say, my intention is, that's one eye, and intention is very important. It may be the most important part of a communication, because you don't necessarily need to use that word, but you need to set a stage for the discussion, the dialogue. So it might be, hey, I'd really like us to be friends again. I'd like to clear this stress because we are in community together, and I want to feel comfortable here. I also really want to kind of help the community be more comfortable and at peace. All those things can create safety, kind of like, okay, that's the intent. And you can repeat that 3 or 4 times as the conflict gets tougher. You can say, how do we work this out? That's what I want. And you can say it over and over. I want us to feel at peace. And people relax. So then the second thing is the I need, or the I wish, or the I want. And it could be I feel. But it can't be I feel that you're the problem. Everybody loves that, I feel that if you just wouldn't snore, I could be okay. No, the I feel means disclosure, because you can't have dialogue without disclosure. Or it could be I just need to understand better what's going on here. I need to kind of mend this gap. The last one, those are the two I's. And then the third is the wish. When you're blowing on one of those little flowers, a wish. And the wish is very powerful. It sounds simple and cliche, but the wish sets up a tone. It goes forward. It builds the earth up. It gets the trees growing, because it's about creativity. It's about vision. So what I wish is, I really wish all of you would get something out of this today. What I wish is that you'd walk away inspired to catch these little moments and speak up. And then maybe speak up about your convictions in a larger arena. Okay? That's what I wish. So, anyway, I had a quick thing happen the other day. I was walking out of a restaurant, and a dog was there on the street looking really hungry and kind of shaking. And then a young man came out, and he opened up his truck door, the door of the van, and he asked the dog to jump in. I noticed the dog was really skinny, and there was no blanket in there or water. And I said a few things, like, do you have a collar? Is the dog hungry? But I was not expecting this on the street. And of course he did the dog's fine, everything's fine, don't worry about it, click, and that was it. I walked to my car. I got halfway home and I thought, there it was again. There was my 30 seconds. Why didn't I say, can I get you a blanket? How long have you had the dog? I really wish that animals be loved and taken care of. That 30 seconds, I didn't create more ground for that animal or for our earth. I didn't contribute. Why? I don't know. Habit. We have fight or flight. We have all these reasons. There's a thing called first truth first, and it's wonderful. It's so much safer. You did it beautifully. The first truth is, I'm kind of anxious bringing this up. Then I check to see, how are you reacting? Then the second truth might be, I'm feeling a little awkward, but I'm really wondering, can we connect a little better? Is there something going on here? That's disclosure, that's vulnerability, and that's part of the I need, the I. I was in the bathroom about 10 years ago, and I was running through graduate school in a hurry. And as I was running out, washing my hands, I thought, God, there's my girlfriend from junior high, and I'm not going to bring this up. It's so tiny, and I'll never see her again anyway. And I thought, oh, and I'm in a class about telling the truth. I better try. So I said, you know what? Can I check this out with you? I have a need to know what's going on. I always thought you judged me. And I mean, I just assumed I was going to walk out of the bathroom just like this woman doesn't like me, and that would be the end of it. And she burst out laughing, and she said, I've always just adored you. Of course, I couldn't be paranoid. So, and with the result of that conversation is a 40-year friendship, and she is my best friend. And it's just amazing. So, it just took that minute. So thank you for bringing that up. So if you could bridge a gap, who and what? Who would you want to bridge a gap with? Just give yourself a second on that question. Because it's easy for us to talk about freedom of speech, but I'm telling you, we better use it before we lose it. We have freedom of speech, but we really have to take responsibility in our just one-on-one days and in larger arenas, whether you're in a political situation or whatever, we have got to start building connection. So, and working through things. So, if you knew somebody, have you ever had someone that passed on, that died, that moved away, and you never cleared anything up with them, and you've regretted it? You wish that you'd connected, but it's too late. And if you had someone you never connected with and you always wanted to, what would you say? Did you ever speak up and suffer for it? That's exactly the courage to speak up that I'm talking about. And it's not a small thing. It's huge. It's huge, this courage issue, because the opposite of courage is fear. And we can't change the world, we can't change ourselves until we have this kind of courage. You know, there's a woman called Dana Jack. She wrote a book called Silencing the Self. And in it she says, for centuries we've had this idea of self-sufficiency and independence, and you know, it was part of the Industrial Revolution that we all kind of stand on our own 2 feet. But she said that's a patriarchal paradigm, and that what needs to happen now is we need to hear our voices in community in order to know who we are. In order to because once you hear yourself, then there's a sense of definition. Oh, that's how I feel. And then you can change that again. But to have the courage to just say, like we were saying today, your first truth first. I feel like I'm lower on the hierarchy here. I'm afraid today, but I really wish that we could work this out. You know, it's very courageous.